Today on Happiness Hunch, we're going to talk about what you can learn from the coronavirus.
Wow. Okay. I'm ready. I'm ready to learn.
You know, as we've been looking at YouTube and just on the internet, we're like surprised nobody has any opinions about coronavirus.
Not one.
It's just like silence, like crickets. So we thought we better say something because this is a big deal. And we think that people have to get some perspective around this event. Don't you agree?
Yeah. Although...
What?
I have a hard time lying. I definitely have been watching and listening and looking and reading, and so...
I was being facetious.
Oh, I know you were, but I'm like so honest. I can't, it's like bugging me, so...
Well, anyway, we did want to just share a couple of thoughts about, sort of like, what can you learn from an experience like this, like on a big level? Obviously, most of the focus is on what should we be doing right now. And there's plenty of things about that on the internet. So we're not going to talk about that. But a couple of things that I think are interesting to think about are, first of all, it's really amazing how vulnerable we are. Here we live in this global society of very widespread complexity and interdependence.
Yes.
And there's really a positive side to that because we can benefit in so many ways from all of that interdependence and global sharing and, and exchange, whether it's information, whether it's products from all over the world.
Or touring.
Yeah, there's just so many
different cultures.
But I think what we're realizing is that we can be brought to our knees really fast.
Yeah.
Like within a matter of weeks, everything has changed. And in my opinion, I mean, yeah, this is a bad virus. I don't really think it's that bad. I can imagine, like, what if something like Ebola or something like that fatal became, some kind of some kind of airborne virus became, something that deadly. Like, what would we do? Or what if we lost half of our power grid in the United States because of a terrorist bombing or because of a solar flare? Or what if somebody like really smart super sabotaged the internet so that the entire World Wide Web went down? Like, what would we do? And I have to say I don't have any answers to that, but it really it makes me think a lot about how much we depend on, and there's a real blessing in that because it's kind of good to have everybody come together and be responsible for these things together. But it also makes us extremely vulnerable, and I think that's why everybody's kind of freaking out right now because...
Well, but that's kind of one of the good things too, is that this pandemic has caused us to think a little more further down the road and be a little more prepared for a bigger event like this. A lot of protocols have been put into place which are going to be good for us, but there could be a new thing, too.
Yeah. So like, my thought is in reflecting about this, we can kind of say, well, maybe we need to live life a little bit more reflectively with a little bit more foresight. We need to plan. I'm like, well, how long would we live? I happen to be, fortunate. We're fortunate because my employment is not being affected by this situation, but, lots of people are being deeply affected by this. Yes. And how long would we be able to go if I had to live off of savings?
Right.
I could go a little ways, but it's not great. Or, you think of the Great Depression, it lasted for a long time. It didn't last just like a month and a half.
Right. And we're not sure when this is going to end. We don't know.
Yeah, so, it kind of seems like it's going to pass in the next 6 to 8 weeks, and then things will kind of begin to go back to normal. But anyway, so that's kind of one thing I've been thinking about is, maybe we're leveraging ourselves a little too much, and we're not taking common sense, taking certain common sense things seriously enough, and sort of just being vigilant and having a little bit more solicitude for the things that we should do that would prepare us against something that could happen. So that's one thing. Have you had any, what have you thought about?
Just as you're talking, I was thinking about how when we've done renovations, we sort of estimate an amount, but then we add on to that like 20% because it's really hard to prepare. And
that 20% is always too much, isn't it?
Right. He's being sarcastic.
We should plan.
Very sarcastic.
We should plan to budget only at 80% of what we actually can afford.
Right.
Anyway.
Right. Well, but my point is that it's never quite enough. And when you think you're covered, oftentimes you're not. And we don't really plan for that shortfall and, live conservatively enough. Many people live on credit card debt and other debts and really get into trouble. Then you get into a situation like this, and you're really stumped. So there's certainly a reminder that that our finances are not something that we can just count on, and other things in the world too. And so we have to put a little reflection into these areas. Finance is just one of them. At some point we're going to die too, and how reflective are we, on that reality?
Are we ready?
Yeah, are we ready?
Yeah.
So
the other thing too that I was thinking about is just, there's oh shoot, I lost my train of thought totally. Anyway, I'll just go on to another thought. That happens sometimes to me. The other thing, though, that I was thinking about is the fact that because we're so dependent and interdependent in these ways, and therefore kind of vulnerable, like the relationship we have to God really does matter, and how much we really have to be reliant on Him. I think how easy the rug can just be pulled out from underneath us, and we really have to. We really do have to be in relationship to God and rely on Him and trust Him, because if we don't, we can freak out really easily.
Yeah.
And people are freaking out a lot, and and then not like thinking, well, how does God see this? A lot of people, some religious people want to say, oh, God is punishing us. I don't think we see it that way. It's something that's happening because of the world we live in, but it's something we really weren't ready for, and it's something we should be ready for, and so we need to be more prudent and exercise more, more preparedness.
Right.
There's lots of ways. I mean, as a family, as a country, just even as a county, that we're living in. We're not that affected yet where we are here in Beaver County outside of Pittsburgh. We haven't had that many cases, and things have been, but it's starting to heat up downtown, and you look at what's going on in New York, and people are like, people just weren't ready for this. But I think we can maintain perspective if we try to see things as God sees things, and I think one of the most important lessons to learn from this, from a faith perspective, I mean, it's also from the perspective of just what reason tells us, but it's like we really need each other, and people, for us personally, and for each of us out there, it's inconvenient to stop our life and figure out, well, how can I actually be of service or helpful to people that really can't help themselves right now? I just talked to someone on the phone last week who is not working, was let go, and I just wonder, well, what's this person going to do? Do they have a support structure around them? Do they have? I mean, I think this person does, but as family, but still, it's like we have to really think about how we can really be looking out for each other. But here's the thing: I don't think we can just do this in crisis. We have to do it all the time.
Right.
Because when we do it all the time, then we're ready for crisis.
Right.
We know how to handle it. We can't sort of rally at the last second when something major happens. When you live in a world that's globalized like ours is, we're not a self-sufficient little, family unit or a self-sufficient little village. We're a very complex world, and everything goes down together. So we have to really hold each other up together and be very intentional.
And you see a lot. I'm seeing a lot of that.
Yeah.
So.
Right. I mean,
which is beautiful.
Yeah, it is. But it's just made me really think about how important that is. That's my point. Is that, it's like I sort of take it for granted. But there's all these little things, for example, that our church is doing that it's like, why haven't we been doing this before? Why do we, these are all great ideas for any time. Why suddenly are we, we're gathering all this food and we're organizing all this support for people in our parish territory where there's some neighborhoods that are, less fortunate and it's hitting them really hard. But it's like, yeah, we should be doing this all the time. Like, sending messages out saying, hey, we're out here, we can help you. What do you need? Do you need us to deliver something for you or pay a bill for you or whatever? So that's I guess, a lot of what I've been learning through all of this is just, it's great to be so interdependent and to benefit and enjoy all of these modern things. But when they go down, boy, we feel it. And at the end of the day, we need each other much more than we need our technology and, all the other kind of niceties of modern life.
Right. That's true.
So, yeah. Anyhow, that was my happiness hunch for this week. Do you have anything else you want to add?
No. No, I don't.
Okay.
I just,
Right.
we're kind of at a standstill here, waiting on, new news and waiting on this to pass. And so, I guess I'm just thinking, just keep having hope, keep doing positive things, keep thinking positive thoughts, keep praying. And we are going to get through this. I mean, of all the pandemics and plagues that have struck humanity in the past, there's always the other side of those things. And so it is coming. I do worry a lot about people who are unemployed. We have a lot of values in our world. We have our human body, life value, of course. But we also have the economics of families, fathers trying to provide for their families. This is a big deal too. So there's a lot of values that are sort of conflicting in some way right now, and we just have to try to move forward as best we can, try to be as safe as we can, when restrictions are lifted, but also, not be afraid at the same time. So.
Yeah, you did have something more to say.
Just a little something.
I keep having these blanks today, but I think you're right. I think there's a lot of people that have vulnerable people in their houses too, and I'm thinking, like, my dad's 93 years old and he's living alone in an apartment. He does very well at his age, but it's all senior citizens and
he's very far from us, so we're not nearby.
Yeah, and I mean, the rest of my family is near him, but we're trying to figure out how to not expose him, right. Or my siblings are, in terms of things like his groceries and trying to take care of stuff like that. And it's hard. He's in Seattle, so Seattle has been hammered really hard. So anyhow, this is just a great time to stop, think about how we allocate our time, our resources, where we put our energy, and think, how can we really rally together and create new patterns of solidarity, of social interdependencies that help one another, right? In a time like this, when the usual support structures that we have in place are not able to operate and function like we're used to. Right. So, all right. Well, thanks for listening. And if you want to make any comments or have any thoughts of your own along these lines, please share them. And please like this video and share it with other people if you want.
All right. So we're praying for everyone who watches this video in particular. So we'll keep you in our prayers.
All right. Thanks. Take care, everyone.
All right. Bye.
Bye.